Hello, everybody. Hello from this side of the of the stage. This is a little bit loud. Thank you. Is it okay? Okay, super. So. I need to remember that this is really hard when I organize a conference to also present and then also play later on. I thought that it would be good on the paper, but then I end up running everywhere. Very importantly, I just wanted to say, as an organizer, I'm sorry we ran out of coffee, but on the next break we are serving wine. So hopefully, yeah. So I will go before Alex is done to go and serve the wine. So anyway, thank you for this. I will talk about this Austro-German Revivals, reconstructing acoustic recordings. As many of you know and heard me speak about my projects before, they're usually based on the same thing, is that as a performer, I really wanted to find out everything possible, what I can, about mechanical recording process in order to understand what am I dealing with when I'm listening to early recordings, right? So it's a very simple premise, and actually it's like opening a can of worms, because since last 7 years I've been working very intensely and closely with Duncan Miller, and everything what I learned is that there is so much room for improvisation, for taking maybe this horn, that horn, maybe this, maybe that, and everything changes the recording process and recording itself very much. So the same thing, how you would not play in the same way in a church and in a small concert hall or in a room, in the context of dynamics, in the context of like big vibrato, or as a singer or a string player. The same way we adjust our performance to the thing what we are trying to communicate. And this is what is really important, is that those recordings, what we are dealing with, even though they are like based on the style which is long forgotten and we are reviving it now, they still do communicate emotion to us, and they do communicate some type of playing which I really wanted to learn. Now, for me, and this is really wonderful example from the previous paper about 3 pianists who are doing the same lineage, where they are shedding things of the past but keeping some things but adding their own. This is really important because the musical performance is extremely subjective thing, and I wish that I could play as some of my teachers. I really wish, but I can't. And this is really important because my own understanding of the musical text is completely and utterly based on my own possibilities, my own limitations, and my own body, which I need to navigate in order to play a musical instrument. Body is something which is really important, because if we don't have the same type of a hand, if we don't have a same type of a voice, we cannot emulate whatever we are hearing, because we will have limitations which we'll never be able to bridge. And this is where I came to this, that I need to be very creative and very kind to myself when I'm trying to play in the 19th century style. So everything started with this. Everything started with, oh, I want to understand it. So I approached Duncan, and Duncan was, okay, if you want to understand anything, you have to understand how cylinders work, because that's a basis of everything. And it took me a lot of times and a lot of recordings where I tried to understand what is actually going on. I had a postdoc which was funded by Leverhulme Fund and University of Huddersfield, which I tried to run this first systematic study on early recording technologies and performance, where it is really, really obvious that in the same way that the musical technique is not something you practice by itself, but it is actually connected to musical expression, that expression, style, and a technique are like a, you know, holy trinity of music, that they can't be kind of taken out. In the same way, the mechanical recording technologies and technologies in general are completely connected to the performance, which will then be registered and then later on produced as a cylinder or disc or whatever. So this is where we start to be in muddy waters, because what actually will be hard for me will not be hard for a fellow pianist, and that's where we will differ. So what I started to do is that I wanted to include historically informed playing, but also instruments. I used mostly historic pianos, like this one, which is my piano, Streicher, from 1882. We had some different instruments. We used historical uprights and everything, but everything I was trying to get in context as much as I could. Of course, there is always really, really, really a lot of holes you cannot cover because you don't have funds, you don't have actually means to do it. Like, so for example, we started with cylinders because my research allowance for this project was like around 15,000 pounds, 18,000 pounds to be completely specific, for everything what I've done. So in that context, I can't build a studio. I have to do the amateur type of recordings where we can actually take the machines and record it elsewhere, or this room and that room, and then we talked about that a lot. So I think that things like this, which I think is played on the wrong speed, but or like this, just a second. Okay, so for me as a musician, this is such a warm story. It's really, really intimate kind of the view of this piece. And I really wanted to see, okay, this person is obviously communicating that so clearly that we can actually hear that on the other end, how his sound sounded like, how relaxed he is. The time when Duncan pointed his recording horn at me and started recording me, I was not relaxed. I was completely panicking. I was like playing everything super fast. It was really, really a long process that I actually teach myself, that I learn how to do this, that I allow myself to be a musician who I am. And I still am not there completely, because it's a very unusual process where your musical imagination has to be very, musical imagination has to be really, really sharp. So when we play an instrument, we always imagine, okay, I want this forte to be so loud that it carries there. I want this piano to be so soft that everybody hears it, right? It's the same principle for mechanical recordings, but it's completely opposite in a way that I'm thinking about nuances in the left hand, and therefore I will stomp the left hand so much that I can barely hear my right, which is completely unmusical at the moment, but it is really, really important when I hear it back. But again, it was only the case for the cylinders. So what we've done in almost 4 years, because I had a baby in between as well. So we did a lot of studies where we tried to kind of open up these recording processes to say, okay, look, we did this, we had these machines, and this is what we used. So if you want to do something similar, by all means use it. Tell us what you're using, quote us please, otherwise that's illegal. But you know, just so in a way that we actually start thinking, okay, so let's say that somebody somewhere else uses the same recording horns, phonographs, and even sorry, even instruments, and then they will have different results. Of course they will get different results because there will be different people playing, right? So let's see where they differ. And that's where how empirical musicology and this kind of tests will give you results to advance the field. So we started with this all sorts of things with phonograph recordings. Then we did a temperature study where we tested the cylinders, how warm the wax should be. Then we did a really wonderful, that's one of my favorite things, was 4 pianists, same piece, same equipment on the same day recording this. And this is really important because we all knew what we are going through, and yet we got completely different results, different tone, different timbre of the piano, which is really interesting. After this, we continued with disc recordings on violin, violin and piano, horn and piano, and then piano solo, and phonograph recordings in the context of a different project, which kind of started at the end tail of my Leverhulme. I started a project with Eva Moreda Rodriguez, who is here, about our research network, where we started opening this to the audiences because we thought, okay, great. If we can learn like this, then everybody in the audience can also learn and relate to what we are doing and hear the differences in the sound. So how does everything look like is like this. One of the most horrible things actually for a pianist who is not playing with the orchestra as much as I would like to, is to start playing when somebody else tells you to play. I usually start playing when I'm ready to start my recital, then I start, and not and yeah, exactly. So that was really, really stressful. And also Duncan, as you can see, cannot see me in which state I am, because sometimes it will happen that I'm like thinking about something, you know, and then I just see the hand, and you have to start immediately because you are, you know, taking the valuable resources. What we did next is we did a lot of the comparisons about what is recorded in the room digitally and what is actually what we got as a result. And then we also took in factor this amazingly important thing. What did the people say about how they played? Because you know what? You know how we are reading all of this. I can tell you who are these people. So if you want some clarification or something, you can email them. So it's really that. It's just making this whole process transparent, and that we stop guessing some things, at least about the mechanical recordings we just did a few years ago. We don't need to guess, yeah? So this redefining early recordings as sources for performance practice and history, where Eva was the PI and I was co-I, had all of these people taking part in recordings, recording sessions, which were open for everybody to join. Everything is on YouTube, so you can actually see how that looked like. So I was really happy to include different types of musics and different types of performers in the context of, you know, Eva did her zarzuela, and then we did also some the non-classical music as well, classical, and it was just really, really interesting. The findings and results were actually kind of spread around through our edited volume and some articles and book chapters. I wanted to talk about really quickly about the final thing. What we did here is no, it's not the final, one of the things what we did here, and it's this Austro-German Revivals, reconstructed acoustic recordings, where we took a number of recordings what we like, David Milson and me, and then we actually recorded them again, not in the context of copying, but just in context of like a nod that we wanted to learn more about what is Austro-German school of playing. Our process looked like this. You will see it later on now in an hour. You will see our wax blanks and everything. So, and you will see the process, which I think that it's really interesting for everybody. The people who we chose were really connected to Brahms. We wanted to see what is this that it actually kind of, when you talk about performance, especially in context of violin playing, you will have Austro-German traditions completely opposite to Franco-Belgium school, and then because of the different use of portamento, different use of vibrato, and those schools were really opposite. In the context of piano, the waters are a little bit more blurred, and it's not so easy to, because everybody studied with everybody, so it's not so easy to kind of understand who picked up things from whom. Through our understanding of these, when we went through the whole album, like when we recorded 10 pieces, we realized that this highly personalized interpretative choices are based on really different views on technique and musical expression. I will show you. I have 2 minutes. We did these technologies which are very similar to this. It's a different machine. I wanted to show you this one, which is actually quite cool. I could sell that as a Joachim, I think. It's really good. Yeah, or this. Okay, so that's that for my, sorry. And the whole album is free. It's free to download. It's free to access everything. So like it's on University of Huddersfield. I can share the link. And that's why it's a research-based album. So it's free for everybody to use. Which kind of leads me to conclude with all of this kind of, spiraling one thing from another. We came to ERA, to Early Recordings Association, which most of you are members. Thank you so much for that. It's a free association to join. You can just gain stuff. You don't need to give anything. So it's a platform for people with a similar interest to see the resources, to actually engage with each other. I would like to open more dialogue between collectors, enthusiasts, and researchers, because I think that we need this. We need need this because we have a common interest, and we should like learn from each other. So Early Recordings Association was announced 3 weeks ago, on Musicology All List, and already now we have almost 170 members, which is quite a good number, and we just keep growing. So please join, and yeah, thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Inja.